Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to season 6. This is Casey Jaycox, the host of the Quarterback Dadcast, and that felt effing fantastic to say that we're in season 6. And my boy, Ty Nunez, thank you to you, brother, for getting us going 5.5 years ago, going into season 6 here. And our next guest I met at Staffing World, American Staffing Association's big event in Nashville, where I was lucky enough to speak with the talented Lenore Convery. Shout out to you, Lenore, if you're listening. And saw so many of my friends in the staffing industry. I met so many new friends in the staffing industry, specifically our next guest, who is the chief operating officer of a company called Equilium. His name is Bryan Levine. Bryan actually knows a few former guests, specifically the talented Mark Nussbaum, because they spent time together at Signature, which is now Dexian. I almost forgot that, but they were Dexian. But with all that said, he's a staffing beast. He's got all this experience, but that's not why we're having him on, everybody. We're having him on today because we're going to learn how Bryan's working hard or continues to work hard to become the ultimate quarterback or leader of his household. So without further ado, Mr. Levine, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Well, thank you very much, Casey. It's a true treat to be here and spend the time with you. Big fan, and love that we got time together this year in Tennessee, and you convinced me that we should jump in and do this together. So both of our hair looks great. Same barbershop, and ready to roll.
Yeah, the one thing that I still can't get out of my mind is when I first met you, you had chaps on. I thought that was kind of weird.
It was a little strange, but hey, you never know.
Joking, everybody. That did not happen. I don't know why I just said that, but I'm feeling sarcastic and bizarre today, and I thought I'd out of the gate just completely go random and try to make people laugh. But he does not wear chaps, at least today. He does not. He might on the weekends, but that's none of your business.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so we always start out with, as you know, since you're a listener of the show, we always start out with gratitude. So tell me, what are you most grateful for as a dad today?
I'll tell you, so I'm a dad of one daughter who actually will be turning 9 this weekend, and greatest journey of my life being her father. I am grateful for how caring and how altruistic she is. She's a Montessori student rather, and every day it's amazing to me how much she cares about her friends, about the people around her, including her family members, and how much she can connect to how she is feeling and how she wants people to feel. And it brings me joy every single day and a tremendous amount of gratitude.
That's awesome. What a great way to, you did a fantastic job describing that, but that's like every parent's dream. Sometimes we as parents, you think about, I want him to be really smart, or I want to get good grades, or make this sports team. How about I want my kid to be nice and empathetic and a great person on earth that makes the world around her better. And sounds like she is doing that, which is a shout out to you and the folks around her that are raising her. What I'm grateful for is we are recording in December, everybody. This episode will come out either in January or February of next year. And I'm grateful we have everybody in the house right now. My son is home from college, and it's so nice having him home. And like last night, he had 4 buddies over, and they're watching hockey, and then they watched a movie, and they're just sports nerds, and
awesome.
They talking trash to each other and laughing, and it's so fun having the noise in the house. And I know that come January, that's going to get quiet again. But I'm grateful for that, just the noise in the house and everybody home.
I love that. So he's home for the whole month.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yep, it's cool. So it's he's got a serious girlfriend. She's awesome. We love Charlie, and it's actually kind of funny. It's my buddy's daughter I play golf with.
Wow, how's that working out?
Fantastic. Well, when it first happened, I was like, dude, of all the girls, my buddy's daughter, like you couldn't pick someone else. But it's right. And we knew each other kind of well, but now like we're really close to the family, and they are like in love. And like, so me and my wife are high school sweethearts. My buddy Rob and his wife are high school sweethearts. And so what Ryder and Charlie, that all they know is, this is what you do. You meet your girlfriend in high school and then you marry her.
Wow.
So we're joking. We're like, we're not putting pressure on them. Like we keep telling them, like, but they're going to separate colleges and they're making it work. And they're like, they love the heck out of each other. It's pretty cool.
That is fantastic. I love that.
So, well, cool. Well, bring us inside the Levine huddle. Tell us who's on the squad. Maybe it's just you and your daughter. Maybe there's other people, but let us know who's on the team.
Yeah, sure. So there's a number of team members. My daughter spends her time equally, half of her time here with me, half of her time with her mother. Her mother and I know each other for a very, very long time. She is surrounded by my brother, her one and only unkie, my mother, her Mimi, her other grandmother Gigi. She has a little sister who's 4 now, which is fun to talk about with her on a regular basis. And she has her stepdad too. So she's got a good group of people around her, and certainly having fun along the entire journey.
Very cool. And what is your daughter's name?
Ironically, it's Casey.
Let's go. I love it. Did she I-E or E-Y? Or
Same
just
as you, C-A-S-E-Y.
Oh.
She actually carries my mother's maiden name as her first name.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome. My wife's sister, her name's Casey, but she spells it C-A-S-I-E. But
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So cool. I love this. Well, so tell me, what's Casey most interested in right now? What like fires her up?
Yeah, it'd be more fun to try to figure out what she's not interested in. Let's see. She's currently in chorus. She's horse riding. She's gymnastics. She's bike riding. She is definitely a Swiftie, to say the least. So we've got all that going on. And she's just constantly wide open. I mean, there's not really anything that she's not up for. And I think it's always fun when she asks me, what is our next trip? What is our next adventure? Where are we going? So her and I definitely have a lot of fun traveling together when we do.
What's your favorite place you've ever gone with her?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's been so many fun adventures. I think that the most unique one we did was we did 5 days together in an old Western town. Each morning, each afternoon, 2 hours on horse, trails, mountains, up and down.
Wow.
Middle of the day, you're in the river, either doing white water or doing rafting of some sort. Then in the evening, you're back on again for 2 to 3 hours. That was certainly a unique trip. On the flip side of roughing it, I'd probably have to say the Disney cruise did not disappoint. For anybody who hasn't done it, I was a little bit hesitant, especially just her and I going together. But it was an absolute blast. We had an absolute jam together, and I love their entrance to the camp is quite funny. If anybody hasn't seen it, in the main lobby, they just go down a tube slide after they swipe their bracelet, and they're off to do their own thing. So we've done everything in between that.
Yeah, we did a Disney cruise a long time ago, and our kids were younger. I think like 9 and 7, and it was like you almost like treat them like a library card. You checked them in, and they just were on their own. Right. The crew, they get, I mean, so much freedom and independence, and
yeah, absolutely.
And actually, it's great for moms and dads too.
It was fantastic. We had a lot of time together during the day, but then come later in the afternoon, and then again after dinner, she wanted to be in that program. She wanted to be with the other kids. She made friends. She had a great time.
So cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, as you know, now since you follow the show, probably know what's coming. But I always like to learn about my guests about what was life like growing up for you.
Yeah.
And talk about mom and dad a little bit, and talk about the impact your parents had on you now that you're dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Tremendous impact from both my dad and my mom. A little bit of color. I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised on the South Shore of Long Island. One thing that my brother and I, we thought was totally normal was that we celebrated literally every holiday. You know, December this time of year, there's a menorah and there's a Christmas tree. Springtime, there's Passover and Easter. We didn't realize that it was, a rarity to have parents that were in an interfaith marriage. So we had the opportunity to really see all the diversity, one, growing up in New York, and then two, having such different sides of the family while going to Hebrew school, both pursuing our bar mitzvahs and things of that nature. It was amazing. Both of my parents worked. My father and his business partner built a successful company. My mother actually worked school hours, which was nice. When you look back, we had the benefit of mom was home when we came home from school, up till about high school. So the two of them were very, very influential and set a great foundation of values for us and how life is supposed to be, how to treat one another, how to respect one another, and also how to accept people. And I think the acceptance piece, played a big part in my entire life, because as we found out, not everybody has in an interfaith household. Not everybody has the uniqueness that comes along with that, the fun that comes along with it. So if you want to accept other people, you want people to accept you. You have to be willing to accept other people. So it was a fantastic time.
Now, did you feel like you hit the jackpot with Hanukkah and Christmas? Just like that's like what, 8? That's 9 days of presents.
I hit the jackpot for sure, to the point where my father had to pull me aside. He caught me on the phone once or twice, telling the opposing grandparents depending on what came first that year, what I got and what I really wanted. So he was quick to realize after a year or two that I was playing off both the grandparents, and he put an end to that.
Are mom and dad still with us?
Mom is still with us. It'll be about the time when you're airing this, it'll be about 20 years since I lost my father. So yeah.
Sorry about your loss. My pops, I lost him in 2021. Actually, yesterday, my uncle passed away 2 days ago, my dad's brother.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he was a great dude. Shout out to you, Uncle Don, if you're listening, wherever you're listening, up in heaven. Now, what did dad do for a job?
Yeah, so my father and his partner built a finance company and then also built a sister collections company. They had that running for many, many years. And it was fun. It was great to be able to be in the office, watch what they were doing. I watched the company get bigger and more successful over the years, watch my parents do better over the years. And it was definitely something I look back at and obviously proud of them, but really impactful to my own childhood because as they continued to push and try and work harder and do more things and things began to scale, you saw not only the fruits of success, but you also saw what they were doing with it in regards to helping other people and making other people come along for the journey and have more opportunity with them. So it's something that I hold very close to myself even today.
Very cool. Did you ever get a chance to talk to your dad or mom about the challenges of bringing two faiths into a marriage and
Yeah, absolutely. It was an open conversation. I mean, it was completely accepted. I mean, we had all kinds of different understandings of what it was during our childhood versus adult when we became adults. But it's interesting. Fundamentally, what I understood is that my parents, they were together for 30 plus years. They fell passionately in love with each other. They were engaged after their third date. And I go back to that word acceptance, right? They understood what they had in common, what they loved about each other. They understood that their childhoods and their upbringings were different, but they blended it together in such a natural way that it was seamless. And it was. While there were moments where you're confused, like any child, like wait, what's this versus that versus this. As you made sense of it, I think it just made us more well-rounded and made us more appreciative of everything that we had.
Love it. I think that shows so much like maturity in your parents at probably a young age.
Yeah.
To be able to not try to convince or, well, your way sucks and we're doing it this way. It's like, well, no, everybody's different. And just because it's not what you do doesn't mean it's bad and good.
100%.
Did you find that going through that? I mean, can you think of a story growing up or even in life now where you use that experience to reflect back on almost like triggers, like a thought where you can maybe tell a story where you had to, you were accepted because of what you went through?
Well, I mean, I think the fact that I had, again, I think growing up in New York, there's just the diversity that you find. Like when I look back at my bar mitzvah picture, the friends picture, I've got every walk of life, every possible background, religion, race, etc. that's there. And it was great because, a close friend of mine was Jamaican growing up, loved to appreciate all of that food. I had a very close friend of mine who was Puerto Rican, Italian, we were the group on our bicycles that anytime we heard somebody was cooking, Casey, we were on our way. We just need to hear that somebody's in the kitchen. So it was great, and it also shows you who you surround yourself with. Sometimes people go after people for all the wrong reasons. We know that, right? You have your friends around you and they're there to help and they're there to help make the situation better.
Wow. Love it. Yeah. I think just as a leader in a company and I would have thought that I would help you in many ways, probably way more than you ever thought going through it. But as you reflect back, and maybe as we're talking today, it's like, man, I was pretty lucky to be able to go through that.
Yeah. And I mean, even, just last week, Casey and I were, getting the house ready for the holidays. So I'm on the other side of the coin now, I guess. So it's, I'm answering the questions now. Well, why do we have a menorah? Why do we also have a Christmas tree? Why is all this in our front yard? I mean, it's just a lot of fun to see it come through while she's also going to Hebrew school and pursuing everything in that direction too.
Yeah. And just for everybody, I was not at Brian's house. That's Casey's daughter. She was helping get the house. I was not. He invited me, but I was busy. I couldn't make it over to get the decorations up.
There's always next year.
So do you still celebrate both faiths? They hear that in the house?
Yeah, celebrate both the holidays, enjoy both of the holidays. I was bar mitzvah. I am Jewish, but I love all the traditions that come along with it, right? I love having a Christmas tree that has menorahs on it and rabbis on it, as well as all the traditional Christmas things on it. It's just a blended world.
That's
And
so cool.
makes it a lot of fun. And, obviously this time of year, you visit other people and host other people. And it just leads to just a ton of fun and conversations. And what I love about this time of year is that you get into traditions, right? Like, what was your tradition? What was your favorite tradition? Or what new tradition? Or, and then you bring back memories. And of course, this time of year, I'll think about my father and think about other people that, helped form who I am, and approach it with gratitude.
Love that, man. You mentioned, so acceptance, how we treat people were some core values. Talk about those, maybe not even another core value that your mom and dad were like, just, these were staples inside the Levine home, that like, this is who we are. This is how we treat people, and maybe how they held you accountable.
Yeah, I think, look, there was an absolute expectation of brutal honesty. There's no lying, there's no gaming, there's no, half truths, and what half truths we all know are, right? A half truth is a lie. We were allowed to ask anything, still can. Might not like the answer, as you find out in life, but you can ask any question you want. And living in reality, like, as I was saying, I watched my parents do better and better over the years, obviously, as they found more and more success, and obviously dad growing a successful business. But there are times where you don't have everything you want, or you're asking for something, and you have to understand why. And you have to be able to understand how it works, or why you need to work harder. I remember being rewarded for making the honor roll and doing those kinds of things, right? But it was always honesty. And even when I lost my father very unexpectedly, it helped because, honesty doesn't allow you to live in denial. It doesn't account for that. So where are we? What happened? What do we need to do from here to go forward? And I think because I was raised that way, I was able to get that, combined with other things, I was able to get through that.
Out of curiosity, unfortunately, I'm psychotically curious. How did your father pass?
Yeah. So, like I said, it'll be 20 years, I think, by the time you air this, February of next year. My parents were driving home from dinner, both living in Boca at the time in South Florida, enjoying life. It was a Friday night. And unfortunately, there was a terrible accident. My father passed instantaneously. He was actually gone before the car stopped moving. And my mother was in a trauma center and starting a very long multi-year journey to physical and emotional recovery.
Wow, man, I'm so sorry. How's your mom doing?
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
You would never know.
That's great.
I give her a ton of credit for doing the work on, like I said, physically and emotionally. But obviously, when you face something like that head on, and you're the one who gets the call, and you're the one who has to deal and navigate with it, and you're in your mid-20s, it's going to be one of those bricks, if you will, in your life that is certainly changing, who you are, how you are, what you're going to do.
How old was your father when he passed?
Early 50s. Yeah.
Wow. That's what sometimes it's like. I get goosebumps just hearing that story. It's like, I don't go to church, but I'm very spiritual. I look at a Bible scripture every morning. Sometimes I have no idea what it means. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and a lot of it's because I like the competitive streak of how long the Bible app tells me I'm doing it. Sorry, I'm being honest, everybody. But and then I do a gratitude journal every morning.
Sure.
And it just gets me in the right mindset. And even when I write gratitude, I actually find myself like subconsciously smiling.
Yeah.
It catches me, and I'm like, even like, I was grateful today. I was saying, I was like, I'm really sorry, Uncle Don, you passed away, but I'm grateful hopefully, in my mind, I see him and my dad together. They're gonna see my grandma. They're gonna hang out now, and whatever's next for them, I know they're together. And but like when bad stuff happens, it's just like so hard to get away from that. But it's like, but there's something positive. Something positive will come from it. I definitely always try to believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the way that you put that. I mean, it's, I can still close my eyes and he's right there. And I do gratitude actually in the end of my day. I always focus and reflect on the day I just had and where and what am I grateful for. But, I'm always eternally grateful for having the dad that I had, who taught me all the things that he taught me in the time that I had him. And in many ways, it sounds a little strange to say, but it's almost as if he prepared and taught me for his passing. in a number of ways, and to the point where, it was 3 days later, and I was standing in front of everyone, hundreds of people, and I'm delivering his final eulogy. So it was truly, you look back at it and you just have nothing but gratitude for the time that you did have. Do I wish I had more? I wish I had 100,000 years, but I'm not ever going to be anything but grateful for the time that we did have together. It was amazing.
Love it. No, that's great, man. What what was the what was like maybe the best memory growing up that you've shared with Casey of your parents?
The best memory growing up. That's a good one, Casey. Of my parents or of childhood?
Just childhood that maybe you've shared with Casey along the journey of fatherhood.
Yeah, I think some of the greatest memories certainly were our family trips, and the places that we went, experiences that we had, and again, just how that journey went in the beginning. A lot of times, they were road trips, and then later on, we were flying and we were going to bigger places or places that were farther away, and having shared experiences and shared memories, small and big, doesn't matter. It was the time and the moments that were spent together that I always loved. And also, I look back, and it is something that I do, regularly with my Casey. We are at the table 5 to 6 nights a week, and she doesn't have a phone yet. She's asking. My phone is down. We're cooking together. We're eating together. We're cleaning up together. We're getting our chores done. We're talking about our day. We're having meaningful conversation. And I think the tradition and the consistency of doing that, even when I look back at my childhood, it was the same way. It was 5 or 6 nights a week. We were at the table, my brother and I, with both of our parents. And I know, now obviously you look back and you're like, wow, full work day, all the challenges that come with it, and then, get to the table and do everything that you should and want to do. So I love all of that, and I love that I'm keeping that going. And it's some of the greatest conversations ever, that I remember at that dining room table in my parents' house, or currently either at my table, or sometimes we sit at the kitchen island. And I just cherish it.
The best. Yeah, I mean that's such an important thing to talk about, because it's like, for me, it's like what the biggest turnoff when I go to restaurants and I see a family of 4 or family of 3 or family of 2 and they're on their phone, heads down. It's the worst.
I don't get it.
It is the absolute, and it's like one of the COVID. There was so many blessings of COVID. Obviously, I didn't like seeing people get sick, but the one of the things I hated most about COVID is the digital menus.
100%.
Because it gets us on our phone, and maybe I'm sounding like a old washed up, but it's like, bring back I want menus, put the phones down, and we do it in our house too. It's like now it's tough because my son's away in college. My daughter's got basketball and she's going all over the place. But like when we are here, it's like, we're going to put the phone down and just talk. And you got to make time for it.
The phones at the restaurant, I'm with you. They drive me crazy because I'm left with the same question.
Yeah.
Why'd you go out to eat?
Right. Exactly.
Like, if that was the case, why don't you just, order in or DoorDash it or whatever the case may be? Like, if we're going to go out to eat, even if it's you and I, or it's my daughter and I, whoever it is, it's about the time spent together, the moments that are being shared. And you can't do that with a phone in front of your face.
And if as we're talking, everybody, if there's someone listening, you're like, oh my God, he's talking about us. It's okay. You can get better tomorrow. You can get better tonight, and just use what we're talking about as a way to change it. And doesn't mean that there's not going to be times where you have to be on your phone. Maybe there's an important thing. We get it, everybody, but like use the time to say, because in the end, no one's that important.
No.
And I love making fun of myself. Invested in, is anybody like, I was lucky enough, I had a great run at K-Force, 20 something years.
Yeah.
When I left, they didn't go out of business, Brian. It was a miracle. I can't, and they probably forgot I even worked there. It's like, ooh, he worked here, really?
Probably the same with me. My last run was 15 years before my current run. But, and I think, again, not from the sad side of it, but from the positive side of what I went through, with my parents and losing my father. You can't, and again, I get it. Important call comes up and, something is urgent, it's truly urgent. You have to make that decision. But you can't get that time back, So I'm mindful, like, whenever it is that, I'm no longer, and I look back, whatever moment I have to reflect on all of it. Do I want to be on the phone or do I want to be at the table? I'm quite positive I want to be at the table.
Spot on, ma'am. Okay, let's go into life now. So, co-parenting. which you're not alone. Obviously, there's a lot of families who go through that. Talk about the lessons learned along the way, and what are some things that have helped you maybe become a better dad through that journey?
100%. So like anything or any relationship, business, friendship, romantic, former romantic, now co-parenting, whatever relationship you're in and you've chosen to be in and you're going to commit to it, it's going to take work. And in the beginning, it's foreign, right? Like, how do you do this, right? And it certainly, I think everybody has a different adjustment window to it, right? My biggest thing that I started to focus on, and a number of very close friends of mine helped me to really, crystallize my mindset of what I was trying to do, is that I view everything that we're doing as co-parents through the eyes of my daughter, right? And what is it that makes the most amount of sense for her as a child, as an individual who's on her own journey, and her journey is already significantly different than my journey or her mother's journey. So where can you find alignment? Well, you can find alignment, at least for us, looking through that set of eyes, right? Like, what is it that is the next logical thing or makes the most amount of sense? And it's definitely not, well, I can do this here, but I can't do this there. Or I can, children in general are in multiple environments all the time, right? They're in their school environment, they're in their home environment, they're in their sports environment, or they're in whatever their recreation. For my daughter, horses, gymnastics, mainly the two, right? They're in different environments. Each environment has its own expectations, and it has its own way of how it works and how you find, your path and success ideally and everything else. So that's one thing, and being able to be mindful of it, right? And accepting of it, but then also, okay, where do we align? And, I'd say for the past, several years, we've been really good at it, but it comes with practice, right? And it comes with where are we lining up? And it's also a lot of fun. My daughter really doesn't have memories prior to us, having her spend her time equally with both of us. So it's always fun when something's going really, really good or something's a little bit off track and she finds out that we both know. Like, she still has to register the fact that we actually do talk regularly and we actually do talk frequently and we don't keep things from one another. And if something gets forgotten or left or slipped or whatever, thankfully we have a healthy enough situation where we call each other and go, hey, did this really happen? What is it? How do I engage? You know what I mean? And we just do it that way. So it's not blaming and it's not, accusatory or anything like that. It's really coming at it from the best place that we can, which is what's going on with her, what's going on with her world, and what is she seeing, and how can we help as parents should as she continues along her journey.
As you told that story, I can't help but reflect back on life like growing up for you as in, multi-faith family. When you got married, you weren't thinking, hey, we're going to get divorced. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to have to co-parent. Like, sarcasm, no one signs up for that, but it is what it is. It happens a lot in the world.
Things happen.
And so how much do you reflect back on, like, accepting, like the acceptance, how you treat people your parents taught you, the environment you grew up in, and use those skills kind of in this new world of, I got to accept this is what it is, and I might have to check my ego at days and learn. But I mean, I don't want to keep leading my witness, but tell me, does that come to mind a lot?
No, it does, but it also, and I appreciate the way that you're framing it. My parents were fantastic parents. It wasn't about them. It was about us, right? And I see, not criticizing other parents, but I see some situations where it leads me to pause a little bit. And I'm like, that's an interesting approach. Like, I recognize from the very beginning that, like, my daughter is her own human being. She's on her own journey, right? And again, not criticizing anyone. So as a parent, what is the best way to support her personality, her interest, her innate curiosity, et cetera? Years ago, I was on the phone with a friend of mine who's in San Francisco, and him and I were becoming first-time dads, give or take a few months. And we got into conversations about, well, what do you really think it is, right? And we came up with this answer because, we didn't know what we were really, I don't think you really know until you're in it. And it's like, well, aren't we there to like make sure that like our children can maximize their potential? And we both kind of got stuck there. We're like, wow, we're like, yeah, like if that's the role, then okay, how do I make sure that they have the opportunity, they have the stability, they have the environment to maximize their interest, maximize their curiosity, maximize what it is that's driving them and what they want to be. And obviously, still early in the journey, but that's the mindfulness that I try to take. And, look, we've had conversations, Casey and I, with, she has found friends that also spend time in two homes, and she has friends who can't understand it, right? But again, I go back to you and what I went through, and things are, obviously we see all kinds of different situations now in regards to faiths and different blendings, all of which I think is beautiful. But again, if you're wanting to be accepted, then you have to accept everybody else around you. So you need to be able to accept the fact that some of your friends aren't at a point where they can understand it, but they can visit you at both of your homes. You can have a play date at both of your homes. You can show them, and they can then learn from there.
Yeah, no, that's so much. I mean, again, I think there's so much positivity that's going to be coming out of this for you, for maybe your ex-wife, your family, Casey, because it's about just, I think she's learning curiosity. She's learning empathy. She's learning maybe some grit, some resilience through it. What would you say is the hardest part along what has been the hardest part so far in this journey as a dad?
I mean, I think for me, the hardest part is, I think probably like every parent, and you've been so vocal about, going through the transition, where Ryder is off for freshman year. I was very early on to realize all that warmth and love and joy that you get to tangibly feel and be a part of when she's here. And then obviously getting adjusted to respecting the time that she's with her mom. And yeah, I mean, we talk on the phone and things of that nature, but giving enough space, right? She doesn't have to call me every day.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have that expectation, but if she wants to call me, I could promise you and I could be sitting inside of the nicest restaurant with our phones down.
Those rules out the window.
I will know that it's her calling, and I will excuse myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's certainly the challenge. Like any kid, I mean, we've had, those tough moments, the accidents or, the emergency room, all that stuff, but we're both there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's, she was here, she was there. It's, to us, it's a moot point. So for those moments, she knows that everybody's right there for her.
So cool. What for a dad or family at home that's maybe just newly going through this challenge or opportunity, however you want to view it?
Yeah.
What would be some tangible advice that's worked really, really well for you and your family that you would say, hey, not trying to say I'm the smartest dad in the world, but doing these 2 or 3 things really work well for us?
It's possible that you might get me in trouble for this one, but I'll say it. So look, if you find yourself in the opportunity that you're going to co-parent, right? Something has happened, right? I mean, whatever it may be. Like, we actually were not married. We were together for a really long time. We were friends for many, many years before we ever had Casey. And then obviously something happened. We made a choice that this was for us. But the biggest thing that I came to, and the biggest thing that I think was like the beginning of like, let's get a new focus here. You don't need to be talking about the relationship that you chose to end. You need to be talking about the relationship you chose to be in. So if you had issues or challenges or differences, and obviously, you do what you can to work them through. And, like you said earlier, maybe sometimes it doesn't work out the way you wanted to. But if you've now gone ahead and you're saying, okay, we're going to co-parent, we're going to do this equally, we're going to do this with a schedule. My advice, stop talking about the former relationship, because there's a reason why you're in the new one. So what's the point of still criticizing the person or hearing whatever it is that they, wanted to say back then? You're out of that relationship. Be mindful of the fact that you've made that choice, and it's a choice that you've made for obviously reasons that you thought were positives. So invest in the new relationship. and let that old relationship lay where it lays.
Love it. I mean, you can't change past and dwell on it. It's not like we're gonna. It's kind of like blaming, yelling at a referee during a high school basketball game. They're never going to come up and apologize to us parents. Is like, what, that was a bad call. We're going to put 18 seconds back on the clock and replay it over for you. Divorce happens or relationships end. Okay, not ideal, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. I had a friend of mine 2 years ago. I had this actual conversation with. So he calls me one night, and he goes, "Well, I reminded her that, we're not together anymore." And I was like, "Oh boy." I'm like, "How did that go?" And so he says to me, he goes, "She actually thanked me because she didn't know why she was still complaining about it. Because all I said is, well, hang on, we already agreed that we're not together anymore. So what are you bringing it up for?" Yeah. And so I thought it was a little bit maybe more aggressive than I perhaps would be, but it works. But sometimes I think, same thing in business, right? Or same thing in friendship or family. Like, barriers and boundaries are a healthy thing. And I think people sometimes forget that, right? Data is a good thing. Metrics are a good thing. It's not micromanagement. It's the path to success. So having barriers and boundaries in a healthy and positive way, as long as everybody's aware of them, then I think you are setting yourself and the people that you're responsible for, the people you love the most, in my case, my daughter, you're setting them up for success. But if you don't know where those are, well, I don't know. I just don't know how that path works.
Right. I think I've seen friends go through it, and it's gone really, really well, and I've seen it has not gone so well, and the traditional ones you see where there's both sides are going to be like, don't cross this line. The ego gets strong. They want to be right. They want to convince the son or daughter that I'm the perfect parent, which no one wins in that situation, and I think a story like yours is so inspiring for hopefully, I think anybody, but like if a family's gone through a separation or divorce, is like, I think I love how you said it's like everything we do is for Casey's lens, and we're going to do things from her viewpoint and try to like help her do what she wants to do. And I love that you guys both have that mindset. It's not perfect at all times, but that you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And
there's bumps in the road, but having the framework, I think, allows you to get past the bump in the road quick and get back to where you agreed to be. So that's kind of what, like you said, no one expects to be there, but if you're going to be there, then make it the best that it could possibly be. Because, I'm not trying to say that this house is better or, me being a dad versus that or this. Like, I have zero interest in it. That's not what it's about. It's about what are Casey and I doing? How is she doing overall in her journey? Are there things that, I can help with in her other environments, whether it's school, recreation, her other home, and vice versa. We talk about those things openly, and why not?
I don't know if you listened to the episode I did, would have been earlier this year with the former pro baseball player, Kenny Lofton.
I did not get that one.
So Kenny is in what I love about your story is like you guys have 50-50 custody. Yeah. A lot of parents who get divorced, unfortunately, that the court system set up. I learned a lot about this from Kenny. Yeah. It's usually it goes all to the mom, and the dad doesn't always get the best end of the deal. And
there's all kinds of different models.
Yep. And so he really opened my eyes because I didn't know much about that, but just hearing him tell the story, and he was saying, because he was obviously a pro athlete and did very, very well for himself. He could afford some of the legal opportunities and challenges that put in place. But I love the fact that you guys, shout out to your ex-wife for saying, hey, there's a spot for mom and dad to both be a part here, and that so everybody can kind of win, and Casey get the best of both.
We're able to make it work, and like anything, there's no journey that doesn't have bumps or curves or twists or turns. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it's not, but again, make the best of the journey you have, make the best of the time that you have. And it's funny, it's like we talked about acceptance earlier, right? Somebody says, oh my gosh, you gave 4 final eulogies before you were 30. How are you in a leadership role and being able to be a hands-on dad 50% of the time and then still traveling and everything else? And here's my answer, and I say it with a great deal of humility and with gratitude. Those are my normals. Like, that's my normal. It doesn't mean that that's your normal or should be or shouldn't be or it's good or it's bad. But like, if there's something that I can learn about your normal that makes me better, or something that you can learn about my normal that makes you better, then that to me is what it's all about. It's about sharing and being able to embrace people and be able to accept people. And I think that's how we make one another better.
Well said, brother. What would be? I always like to ask this question. Sometimes it can be hard, or it's going to be easy. For me, I think it's easy because I'm not afraid to say what I suck at, and patience is something I suck at. It's something I work on all the time. I've gotten a lot better thanks to 270 something dads who I talk about this often with them. And so, because my dad, rest in peace, he could drop the best goddamn it's at me. God damn it, Casey. And I'd start laughing. And people heard me say this before, but I'd find that like when I'm just like present, really, really present, my patience goes up.
Yeah.
When I'm not present, my patience goes down.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I think about it often helps me stay patient, a little more patient. So that's something that, as a dad, I'm always working on trying to be better at each and every day. For you, Bryan, what's an area of your dad game that might speak to dads at home that maybe it's not quite where you want it to be, but you're working hard to improve on it?
Yeah, I think I can echo the patience piece. I think the part that I probably should give more grace to is the dilly-dallying, as I call it, right? Like, it's time to get your shoes on, your jacket on, and in the car, we're on our way. But somehow it's 20 minutes later, and we're not quite sure what happened to the other 18 minutes. So I'm trying to give more grace to that, understanding where she is in her development, why it's so easy. I mean, she has her dog here, and why it's so easy to get distracted by virtually anything. But I think also because, my schedule requires, a bit of being regimented, that I have to consciously remind myself, it's Saturday, man. Like, we'll get to lunch when we get to lunch. And I had, one of my closest friends, I'm fortunate to have a big brother, and in my opinion, I have another big brother, and they're both aware of this. One did not grow up with me, but he gave me one of the pieces of advice that changed my life, and I had to work on it. But he encouraged me as I moved from meeting to meeting or from setting to setting to ask myself consciously, what role am I playing? And I do it now regularly, like automatic. When I go from a meeting to a meeting, and I work generally from home, because some meetings you're the leader, some meetings you're just input, some meetings, you're just learning, right? But I've applied it beyond work, right? So it's Saturday, and I'm like, let's go, let's get it done. And then I'm like, wait a second, I'm in my dad role. It's Saturday. What are we rushing for? Just let it happen.
And you know what? There's not, unless the house on fire, why? Right? Be flexible. That's a great point. Like being flexible, go with the flow a little bit. But like your regimen, your structure has helped you be successful in life and business. But sometimes that we got to like put that at bay. I'm the same way. The same way. And so, well said. Talk about how on the Sam's Hell did you get into staffing?
So that's a funny story, right? So early in my career, I was actually traveling almost all the time. I was in a sales role. I was on the road 40 weeks out of the year. Crazy life. I was getting paid to see the U.S. I was in my early 20s. And I was having a great time, traveling with a good group of guys to see a couple of different people every week. Obviously, I shared earlier what happened with my folks, and I realized, started to realize after a couple of years that really wasn't a long-term lifestyle, right? There's fun in that, and then you start seeing people who decided to do it for 20, 25 years, and I respect them, but it just wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to pursue. With everything that happened to my folks and the journey that was ahead for my mom, I realized that I wanted to be back, and I wanted to be doing something that had value and had purpose. And so it's ironic, this is before the 2008, financial disaster, but the final two industries, Casey, I was looking at was the mortgage industry, which I was like, oh, that's a good one because, I can help people, get their first home or get a loan or move to a bigger home, whatever the case may be. And the other one was staffing. And I was drawn to it from the fact, and I think a lot of it with how my parents raised us and my father and everything, what is better than helping a company solve a problem and help a person find an opportunity. Like, it just spoke to me. So I got started. I cut my teeth early on at Robert Half. Had a ton of fun there, and you know how that structure is built, and had a lot of fun going through it. And then had an opportunity to join Signature. Was there for 15 years, all the way through the transaction and then some to what is now Dexian. And then 2.5 years ago, I had an opportunity to join Equilium, and having a blast still. And while my role has changed as my career has gone on and sat in different seats, I still am drawn to the fact that we are taking a person, giving an opportunity, helping a company or client of ours solve a problem or hopefully multiple problems. And I still love it. I still get a kick out of
And you've been doing it for 20 years, right? 20 plus?
it. Yeah. I mean, as you say it, I'm sitting here going, oh boy, it is about that time. It's about 20 years now.
So cool. Okay. Well, before we make sure people know how to learn, actually, before I go to that, so if people have not heard about Equilium,
Yeah.
and they want to learn more, and they've never heard of the company ever, talk to us like you're talking to your grandma who's knits and doesn't know anything about staffing and doesn't know anything about Equilium. Like, tell us about what you guys are doing, the problems you're solving, and how can people learn more.
100%. So we are a 25-year plus company that maintains a startup mindset. We're focused in a number of different verticals, from both the contingent, consulting, direct placement, EOR, AOR, workforce solutions, but focused primarily within the healthcare space, engineering space. We have a low voltage specialty niche. We have a finance and accounting focus as well, and all the pieces that go along with that, and then our technology play as well. But like I said, those are the main verticals with all those different solutions. So a lot of our clients will come to us for a holistic approach where, hey, I need payroll help, I need contract help, I need consultant, I need direct, and we are a shop that's able to deliver all of that. It's unique from the fact that we're multi-generational in our ownership group, so we're actually in our third generation. Second and third generation are still actively involved, but that transition has already started. We do a great job of making sure, which is I think why we were able to get along so well, that our values matter a great deal to us. How we treat one another, how we want to behave and perform internally for one another, Casey, and then carrying that out to our clients and carrying that out to our candidates and our contractors, that matters, and that's what binds us together, right? And if we're operating with those shared values, we're optimistic we'll keep finding success and hopefully keep finding growth and providing more opportunity to the folks that are on our team.
Love it. Well, I was fortunate enough to meet your fellow executives in Nashville, and I didn't realize that it was a multi-generational thing. And when I met the brothers and I met the father, I was like,
Yeah.
And it was like everybody at home, like sometimes families like, oh, it's family business. And there's like, oh, it must be drama. No, there's not. At least
No.
and it was like the most genuine,
Yeah.
Authentic. I fell in love with the guy. It was like such a cool story. And I think
Yeah.
he's the founder's got a book coming out too. Or
Monty does have a book coming out.
Yep.
I'll probably drop a comment or two to help support that. Excuse me. It's his first one. But it's, you go back to, everything that we're talking about here and everything that you do, and I'm thankful that you do such a great job with the podcast. Jerry and Monty got it going. Now it's Monty with his two sons, Brad and Jordan, and his daughter, Shannon, who is an amazing component of the company as well. But again, I think it's the family. I think it's the values. I think it's people buying in. I'll go with you that there's no drama, because there isn't, but there's always fun times in any business, and I think we enjoy those moments too.
Yeah, not as perfect, but at least what I saw, it looks like a pretty cool spot, and I'm happy for you that you found an opportunity and maximizing your gifts and talents. We'll make sure we'll tag Equilium in the show notes, everybody, so you can learn more about them. We'll make sure Bryan's tagged in the show notes. All right, before we get into the lightning round, if you were to describe kind of what we talked about today, that dads or moms or whoever's listening can take like actionable advice from our conversation to kind of apply to their own life, to be that ultimate quarterback or leader of their home, tell me what comes to mind.
I would say, it sounds generic, but it's I think the mindfulness and knowing the role that you're in and knowing the setting that you're in with those barriers and boundaries. One thing that I found, and I know, you've had a lot of success and before all this and staffing and everything else, that we're all wired, like we were talking about earlier, it's Saturday, right? Like let it go. Is that we're go, 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 go. And what I found sometimes is that, you don't necessarily have to do a full stop, but you can yield. You can give grace. And if you can do those things for the folks around you and even for yourself a little bit, really good things happen. You know?
Yep. I love the word grace.
Yeah.
I
Like
love the word grace.
a little bit, even for yourself. Like I said, none of us are, we all tried in our 20s and 30s, I'm sure, but look, none of us are going to be perfect, you know? So why not just embrace it?
Like having grace in the staffing industry.
Yeah.
Think about if sales has grace for recruiting has grace for sales, and watch some of the drama go away. It's like no one's. That's how I joke when I bring in like consult companies. I'm like, how often does sales say, "Man, I can't wait to recruiting really screws up and shits the bed on all my jobs and it makes my clients mad and forgets to do all these things." I really hope they do that. Like no one's doing that stuff. And for ourselves, like I did say, like I do some volunteer work, and one of our boards, we had this little drama thing hit, and I was like, people kind of got freaked out. I'm like, we're volunteers. We're doing our best. Give yourself grace. It's like, and when you kind of, it's like, you may be like, I feel like I'm on the couch now. You're like the therapist. It's like, you just it's like, I don't know, just kind of freeing mindset when you do that. So I love that you called that out.
Yeah. And it's, look, you can't control all of it. I was talking, we all have things that happen, right? It's life, right? Whether it's a flat tire or whatever the case may be. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was also talking to my brother about the same thing. And obviously, my brother knows me forever. So we've all had these things. Inside of 48 hours, the heat went out, the car broke down, and the dog wound up at the vet ER.
Pretty low drama.
I was, obviously it is what it is, but I was smiling my way through it versus if I go back 20 years ago, forget about it. There would have been smoke coming out of my ears and everything else coming out of my mouth. And that, for what? It's going to happen. So know it's going to happen. Know you got to deal with it, and it's going to go by. And then you're going to get right back on to what you're doing.
Such a good reminder. Such a good reminder for all of us, everybody. Well said, dude. This has been a blast getting to know you. It's now time to go on to the lightning round. I just like I said, I don't have a lot of these questions prepared. We started with a blank piece of paper. Everybody have a full page of notes. And so I will remind you, the lightning round is a time for you to answer these questions quickly. My job is to ask you them quickly and to try to get a giggle out of you.
Does it count that I already laughed?
No, we're not going to count one, or mine laughing at my own joke.
Right.
Are you ready?
As ready as I could possibly be.
Okay. True or false? Your daughter got into horseback riding because you once were a jockey.
False.
Okay. I'm laughing at my own joke. Okay. True or false? Mark Nussbaum once was a jockey.
False.
Okay. If you were to go on vacation right now, you and Casey, where are you going?
Aruba.
Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take you. Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama. Name the song.
There you go. Beach Boys.
Attaboy. Good job. I almost started singing, but I didn't want to like make this thing really go viral. And then next thing you know, I'm on The Voice, and then it gets just awkward for all of us.
It could be. I'd still be cheering for you. I know a lot of other people who'd be cheering for you too.
This is such a sarcastic day, everybody. I apologize for the shenanigans. Okay. If I came to your house for dinner tonight, Casey is spending time with you. What are we going to have for dinner?
Ooh. Well, if she's in the kitchen helping, we're probably going to see some good steaks coming out, probably some fillets. We're definitely going to see some mixed vegetables, maybe some spinach. We're going to see some potatoes, and then if she's working the stove, you're definitely going to see some mac and cheese. It's definitely
nice. I love mac and cheese. Such a I like a good baked mac and cheese.
I do too. Absolutely.
So good.
She's at the stage where maybe it's not baked yet. It's just the fact that it's just super tasty.
There we go. Hey, however. Tell me the last book you read.
The last book I read was Richard Branson's second autobiography.
Okay. If there was to be a book written about your life, tell me the title.
Yield, Don't Stop.
Okay. Now, Yield, Don't Stop, you might have guessed, but I'm going to remind you that no one can get a copy of this thing because it's sold out everywhere. Amazon sold out, Barnes and Noble. No one can find it. Every airport. I even gone to like Syracuse, New York's airport. It's not there. No one can find it. So now Netflix has decided to make a movie about this bad boy. Yield, don't stop, and tell me who's going to star the one and only Bryan Levine in this critically acclaimed hit new movie.
A dream come true for me would be bring back Don Rickles.
Donnie Wrinkles, let's go. Yeah. Solid choice. I think that's D-Dub's first appearance on the Quarterback Dadcast. So I wish I could give you like a T-shirt or a free bowl of soup, but I don't have
Mr. Warmth, if anybody has forgotten, one of a kind.
There we go.
Remember who his booster was?
No.
His booster was Sinatra.
Wow. I love Sinatra.
That's who got him started.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay. And then last question. Tell me 2 words that would describe Casey.
Sweet. Honest.
There we go. Lightning round's over. I was a train wreck and laughed at my own jokes and took us off all over the board. You did give me a courtesy laugh. I think at times I'll still give you the nod. Bryan, this has been a blast getting to know you. I'm grateful how we met because you were so kind and just super nice about just like and complimentary of like it was like blew me away. I was just so humbled by like what you said about like the podcast and just was like, I got to get this guy on just for and I loved learning about you. I'm inspired by how you live your life. I'm inspired by just everything I've learned about you today. I think it's really a fantastic story. And I think that there's many dads at home that can hopefully take a lot from your journey in life, because I mean, I know I did. I have a page full of notes, and hopefully there's a family out there or dad out there that's going through some co-parenting that can say, man, you know what? There is a better outcome for me. If people want to connect with you, they want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about, well, obviously Equilium, but what's the best way people can connect with you if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate everything you said, Casey. I know you and I had been in each other's orbits for a long time, and then obviously, having the chance to meet in Tennessee a few months ago, and then grabbing lunch, and thanks for talking me into spending time, because I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast. I love everything you're doing with the podcast. I love the diversity of the folks that you spend the time with and the guests. And I mean, everyone can learn from each other, and if we're just willing to share. So you being the catalyst for that is something that I know I don't speak alone in being grateful for. Anybody who's looking to connect or reach out, LinkedIn is probably the best and easiest vehicle. And I welcome anyone who wants to connect and chat.
Love it. We'll make sure he's connecting. He's linked in the show notes, everybody. But Bryan, have a fantastic holiday season, multiple holidays, and hopefully Casey's going to hit the jackpot for those 9 days. And if you pick up another holiday, let her hit the jackpot even more.
Absolutely. We'll just see what happens when the Amex bill shows up in January, Casey.
There we go. Awesome, man. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Take care.